Hello and welcome to the OKC Edge. I'm your host, Will Harrison. Today we are live on location at SoonerCon 23, Darkness Falls. So stay tuned, you get to meet some exciting people, some interesting people, some unique people. Why are you here at SoonerCon?
The question is, why am I not here at SoonerCon? I mean, with all the freaks around here, how could I resist?
Hi, my name is Ashley Shadowheart, and I am a local Oklahoma cosplayer. I do mostly crossplay, which what that is where instead of cosplaying as a lot of women, I cosplay more as male characters. My favorite characters to cosplay is Loki from Marvel's Avengers. I do the movie version. Made the costume entirely myself out of vinyl and cotton and a lot of other fun materials, but it's what I do. I take images from movies and video games and I try to recreate them as faithfully, or at least with some fun modifications to create an interesting look as best I can.
Okay.
With cosplay, obviously the first thing you want to do is grab your reference, just however much reference you can get to help with the accuracy of your characters. 360 turnarounds are the best thing, but really, just as much reference as you can possibly find. And then, based on your reference, you want to go in and find your materials, which a lot of people starting out, they tend to get like the cheapy satins or the cottons or whatever, but if you look closely at a lot of your movies, you will find that their costumes are made from not necessarily high-end materials, but a lot more textured materials. And even with a lot of animated features, you can still go in and find, if they've done their homework, you can find some kind of texture in there to find your more accurate cloth. A lot of my stuff, I try to grab, especially if it's leather, I grab vinyls because they do look accurate and they tend to be cheaper. But you'll get your materials, you get your patterns if you need them. Patterns actually aren't terribly difficult to draft, and there's a lot of tutorials online and a lot of books available to help you figure out how to draft your pattern, alter your pattern. But it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but it's a lot of fun at the same time.
So what drives you to do it?
Fun. It's a lot of fun. I get to go to a lot of events and I get to meet a lot of people who are interested in characters, and it's definitely a conversation starter because you can walk up to a Loki or a Kuja or somebody in steampunk and you automatically have that connection. You know that, oh, they're into comics, they're into the movies, they're into the same thing I'm into. So it's a lot easier to kind of, just talk to people and get to know people and just play with people.
Do you have a website or a Facebook, anything like that?
If you want to check out more of my work, I do have a Facebook page available. You can find me on Facebook under Ashley Shadowheart. I'm also planning to start doing some tutorial videos on YouTube and a Tumblr blog. So, lots of fun things.
And I'm here at SoonerCon this weekend promoting my new book, Speed and Bullet. It's about a speedster who comes into town and tries to rid of the resident crime boss that's taking over, which is actually Winter Riley from the Stray Bullets series. And when she comes in, she fights Winter Riley. She doesn't do so well the first time around, so the second issue she enlists help from the help of Raven and his sidekick Silver. And then they fight Winter Riley for control of Center City. Eventually, what's going to happen is this is going to be a bi-monthly series. And eventually what's going to happen is they're going to get together to fight one big bad guy, kind of a dark side type character. And you'll get a glimpse of him in the third issue. I've always wanted to draw comic books as a kid. My grandmother, she used to take me to the grocery store every Saturday and we'd pick up comic books. And I would, ever since I was young, tried to copy the panels from those comic books. It just sort of grew into a love for comics. Oh, I do lots of thumbnails. I sketch out a lot, do my layouts, try to think about how it's going to look, how each page is going to flow. I kind of take a film school approach to it, because I like my comic books to come off as short films, because I like the film approach to comic books. So everything's really intense. There's a lot of in-your-face type action. I want you to be like right in the middle of it. And my visual story is different from my narrative. My narrative always talks about what's going on introspectively through the characters' minds while the action is taking place on the pages.
Where can people go to get your books?
Right now, they can go to Speeding Bullet Comics in Norman to pick those up, or they can visit my website online at DerekWayneJackson.com.
Cool. Do you have any advice for newcomers to creating comics?
Don't stop. Don't stop drawing. Don't stop creating. Just go for it.
It was my father who originally got me into the work of sword building. And eventually, in about 1746, I think it was, in Spain, we had developed a sword that was fine enough to cut through plastic. Though plastic not invented till about the 1900s, there was a substance very similar. And so therefore we had learned how to make plastic spoons and forks, and so picnicking was very high in the 1800s. Well, originally when I had first done my first documentary on the OETA, that's Channel 11 for those Tulsa fans, and in Oklahoma City I'm not technically sure. But basically we had developed the process of movie making to the art of sexual appeal. Well, what really got me to do it really I think it was Del Evans from the Bonanza, which is very similar to Aaron Gray from Buck Rogers. It's a little bit different. I mean, there's a cowboy theme, yes, but at the same time, there is a development of Western, space, and steampunk thrown in together to make a nice bowl of soup, so you can eat it with like peanuts and then a little bit of mushrooms.
Lieutenant Junior Grade Shane Ogre Cole, former Minotaur Squadron, current Hammer Squadron leader and comm officer, Battlestar Raven, BattlestarFanClub.com.
Name's Sherry Leach, call sign Dunright, part of the Minotaur Squadron, junior Viper pilot, Raptor pilot in training.
Melissa Blade Smith, ensign. I actually joined not very long ago. I'm part of the Flying Tiger Squadron, and I'm currently testing to be Raptor pilot, and will be trying for Viper as soon as I get my results back.
It's a fan club for Battlestar fans. I mean, yes, there's some people that are gamers in the group. The Raven is a family. That's the way to describe it. Once you're a Raven, you have family across the country and international too. But it's not just oh, you're this on the Battlestar, you're that on the Battlestar. We're all friends. We all work together on stuff. We do charity work, but different positions, different things. But you feel like you're actually part of a working Battlestar as well as being a fan of the show. Everyone's got their jobs. Our commanding officer, Dragon Lady, that's her call sign. Her actual position is Raven Actual, commander of the Battlestar Raven. She's like a defensive mother hen, right? And I mean that in all positive. You mess with one of the Ravens, she will do everything in her power to protect them. if one of her ravens is hurting, she will take care of it. She will do whatever it takes. She is the main reason. She is the main reason every raven is loyal. She's also been recently, the past 5-6 months, she's been promoted to vice president of the entire Battlestar fan club.
Well, right now we're really getting into promoting upcoming Galacticon 4, which is taking place next year in Seattle. It's going to be a big convention dedicated to not only Battlestar Galactica, but they're also bringing in Firefly and I believe Star Trek.
And Babylon 5.
Babylon 5. We're promoting that right now, and we're also recruiting new members as much as possible to join our family. I do want to say that the Battlestar fan club is one of the most tightest, passionate fan clubs that I've ever been a member of, and I chose it out of all of the other Battlestar clubs due to the fact that the people are really nice, genuine, and we're like one big family, like Shane recently said. I mean, it's local for us that are in Oklahoma, and I believe Oklahoma really needs a bigger lookout for sci-fi fandom of any genre whatsoever. We have such a small genre. I mean, we have fans, but we don't have the mainstream support that other states and other areas do, and we're just here to bring it to Oklahoma City as much as possible.
Also, SoonerCon is one of the last, or at least in Oklahoma, SoonerCon is one of the only few locally ran conventions. I mean, it's by the fans, for the fans. So, the fact that we have that kind of ground support is a good thing.
The Royal Manticorian Navy is a very welcoming, open group. It's free. You don't have to do anything you don't want to. Certainly don't need to buy the uniform, but those of us who like to dress pretty, we do. The entire organization has been around for quite a while. They made it free recently. We promote charity organizations, most specifically the Big Cat Rescue. And as far as conventions go, there are chapters across the world, and they visit as many conventions as possible to represent. I am the first captain to make a ship in Oklahoma, but that is not to say that I'm not that we're not wanting to get more people involved in creating new chapters. It is as much or as little as you want to promote or to get into the whole being involved thing. We have some people who join and kind of just enjoy being part of the group and don't really do much else. You can take exams if you want. You can take in roles that actually are time intensive or money intensive if you choose to do that. So yeah,
Why do it?
My name's Alan Grimes. I'm a local artist here in Oklahoma City and have my studio called A Grimes Studio. And I am been actually drawing for roughly 20 plus years and looking to try and get into the scene of the different Comic Cons, and we're looking at different illustrations and different white on black drawings, and I do all sorts of different portraits, caricatures. I do cartoons, cartooning, anything from, like I said, illustrations, even some design stuff, graphic design stuff. I'll do a lot of digital artwork. I have a tablet at home, Cintiq, that I actually do most likely about 80-90% of my art there. But the rest I do some pencil work, some chalk work, some charcoal work, some, again, just normal graphite pencils. It's agrimesstudio.com is my website. I have a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/agrimes.
Point tags, fights, stances. I need verbal recommendation. Are you ready?
Let's do this.
Ready? Begin. Area, James.
One.
Hold area.
Keep it going. Warning on me.
Challenger with Equinox Comics. I've got Johnny and Sean here right now. Ben and Jason are here as well. Frank's coming in later on, and then also Zach Smith, one of our writers. We're here at SoonerCon 23 in Midwest City. A lot of stuff in the works. Working on Equinox number 3, so it's pretty close to being finished. The Tribe is in the works, almost completed. A lot of other books that's on the way. We'll be at Tokyo and Tulsa coming out, so if you guys want to come out for that. Of course, we're still on the website. We've got a Pinterest, Facebook. We still have MySpace. That's actually still alive. Get a hold of us with our email, equinoxcomics@yahoo.com. But hey, man, we're here, and got any questions, get a hold of us. Doing commissions. I mean, now I'm running out of words. Yeah, I mean, typically, it depends on the writer. Starts writing out that book or the script story, the content, and once we get that kind of edited out, hand it over to the artist, and Johnny or Sean, whoever puts the art to it, then we'll scan it all in, get the colors and the lettering done, and of course we send it off to the printer to get it printed, and turns right around. It's actually an easy process. It's just more time consuming more than anything, but we've got a lot of characters to choose from. We've got over 400 characters in our universe, so we tend to get together and talk about a particular character and kind of come up with an idea of how we would like to maybe portray them, and then just kind of work it out from that point on, and then turn it into a story. And then a lot of times it just it works itself out. Our fans give us a lot of feedback and a lot of cool ideas out of just fan feedback.
What would you say drives you to do comic books?
It's just too cool. If you can't be a superhero, might as well draw one, create one. Ever since a little kid, all of us were kids into the comic books. Coming up with all these creative ideas that we have, we've got to get them out there. If we can get them in paper, into a book, see them really come alive in an actual comic. Possibly potentially into some live action films that we're looking at. So lots of different things that really motivate us to want to keep us going. Plus having the fans come by and check it out and really getting into it, becoming fans of our characters. We actually had our character Curse was cosplayed by a guy out of Tulsa named Andrew Parrish. So our first ever cosplay of one of our characters, and he did a fantastic job. You can see that on our Facebook, and we're hoping to see more cosplayers come out and do our stuff. So it's kind of a sign that we're doing something right. So, but we saw him actually come alive. Got Equinox number 1, our first book that we ever put out. It's a 40-page full-color book, and it's got 2 stories in it. It's got a chapter story in the beginning, so it's called Genesis. Kind of just a quick look there. Drawn by Kent Clark, that's his actual name, but Kent did the interior art. Characters were, the story concept was by Tim Lackey, and another guy that's not in our group anymore who wrote it into the comic book script. But Kent did the art for the interior, and then we have a secondary story written by Tommy Brownell and the art by Johnny Johnson, colors by Kent. And so this is introducing Rachel Strand. That eventually she got her own comic book and has been one of our more popular characters. That we've got 3 books out right now with her, and then we just issue number 2 for Equinox. Continues the story, the Genesis story arc, and Ben Soto actually did the colors for this. Did a really good job with the colors. Then we introduced Curse into the second story. So that's our ninja hero. So each Equinox book that we put out will have a chapter story in it, and then a secondary, shorter 14-page story roughly that introduce a lot more of our characters and get a lot of our stories out there. So.
Just recently started this past year actually drawing it, and it's about the Angel of Death falling asleep at his desk while he's filing his paperwork. And so while he's asleep, zombies are rising up from the earth, and after he wakes up he realizes he screwed up, and so while he's on Earth he ends up losing his sight, and he meets this survivor girl named Nell that's kind of helping him out while he's down there. So, and it's got 2 issues right now, and I'm working on number 3 at the moment, so hoping to get that out in a month or 2.
What's your kind of your creative process as far as when you're making a comic book?
Start out with the script, kind of a basic plot line, and then I go ahead and sketch it out, do thumbnails, pencils, inks, scan it in, colors, texture, and then all the lettering. So it goes through a lot of phases.
This is the pages for a comic that I'm doing for a company called Pronto Comics out of New York City. The writer's a guy named Walter Barker, and this is called The Snakehead Fish of Central Park, and it's about this father and son, and they catch this crazy looking fish in Central Park in the pond, and the father goes back later and basically gets attacked by a bunch of fish. It's kind of a little 10-page horror thing. It's a lot of fun. Should be out this fall from Pronto Comics. It's part of an anthology they're doing, kind of a horror thing. Also, I recently did this, which is a weather comic I did with News 9 here in Oklahoma City. I worked with one of their meteorologists, Matt Mahler. I was contacted about the idea of doing a weather comic that they would take to schools and give out to kids when they do their weather school with the kids. It's kind of a weather safety kind of thing. It talks about stuff like when it floods, what should you do? Don't play in creeks, that sort of thing. It was a fun little project. It was nice to work with a local company. It was nice to work on something that actually contributes to kids' safety. Something you never know, may save a kid's life. Anyway, that's what I've been working on lately. That's my current babies.
Okay. You need to come to the International Superhero Festival. It celebrates all things superhero, and it's rumored there will actually be a supervillain there to battle. So, create your own superhero and come October 18th, Saturday, October 18th, and become a superhero.
Yeah, go for it. So I'm Chris Kramer. I'm one member of thefourthrealm.com, which is what you see here. We're kind of an indie publishing imprint made up of a group of independent authors who basically work together to write, edit, critique, publish, market, and everything else related to getting books from our brains into your hands. It's kind of an entrepreneurial kind of thing. We do it all ourselves. We've learned a lot in the process, and we enjoy it still. We do mostly fantasy, sci-fi. We've got some thriller, crime fiction, some historical fantasy, a few signature series. I would say this one right here is kind of like our main signature series. This is the one we actually write together. A lot of our other books are done all individually, but this is a series that we all write as a collaboration. And as you can see, we have the third book out just recently, and we're working on the fourth.
What's your favorite one that you've worked on so far?
It would actually be this one right here. This is one of my books. It's the historical fantasy. It takes place it's the first book in the series. It takes place in 9th century Britain, and it basically kind of covers the mythology of the time period. It's Norse, Celtic, and basically Christian mythology kind of all in conflict because you had that actually in reality at the time. You had Anglo-Saxon Christians coming in from the south. You had Vikings attacking, from the east, and then you had kind of like the ingrained early Britons and their Celtic culture and lifestyle and traditions already in place. So you had this conflict of these three competing cultures all trying to win out over the others. So I really enjoyed reading about the time period, so I decided to write a series of books about it, and this is the first one.
Just tell us about some of your new books that you've been coming out lately.
Actually, one of the latest books is called The Defender, Elderwood. Oops. It's a new series. It's about takes the premise of a mage as a masked superhero. I'm actually proofing the second book this weekend. It should be out in a few weeks. So that's the thing that I'm working on. I've actually now written, I want to say 8 Defender books so far, working on number 9 as we speak. I'm kind of the sort of writer who needs to have an outline, needs to know where everything is going. Don't really write very good on the fly, so I sit down and try to come up with a good outline. get the scenes together, and then just go to it and start writing. I tell young writers the best thing to do is to get on a schedule, write when you can, set a realistic goal, write every day. You will be surprised at how productive you'll be. Do you have favorite children of yours? I don't have favorite books. I like them all, and whatever someone is interested in, I'm happy to tell them, hey, come and take a look, see what you like, and make that your favorite. I try to write the best books I can.
And where can people go to look at your stuff?
The easiest way to go is to find my blog, One Kansas Author. From there you can find links to me on Amazon, Smashwords, Wattpad, my Twitter, my Tumblr, all that stuff.
Try to find the beauty in ugliness and just decay. Sometimes even the forgotten things can be beautiful, and that's what I try and show in my sculptures and paintings. And I borrow from fantasy and horror movies to illustrate it.
What's your kind of your creative process as far as when you're making a painting?
Either what I read or old B horror movies, or a lot of the Hammer classics and George Romero, and or a lot of Lovecraft too, and just my own nightmares.
My name is James Pronath. I'm the writer-director of the film They Came from the Ether. It's my second film, and it's a 1950s style sci-fi flick. Everything was cast locally in North Carolina, except we did have some cameos by Judith O'Dea and Linnea Quigley, which they both came out and they're amazing. Wrote the script, took a few months. We began pre-production, and because it's a 1950s film, we had to get 1950s props, which meant a lot of yard sales, antiquing, just finding the appropriate things. Like we had to get the cars that match the time period, phones, clothes, all that type of stuff. So we spent another 4 or 5 months doing that. A few months casting, getting everything organized with locations. Again, because we're in a modern world, we had to have things that didn't stand out as out of place. And then I'm in the military, so my schedule's pretty tight, but we shot over 5 different weekends over the entire summer last year. And then one in the fall with Judith O'Dea, and then about 3 months of editing before we had our rough cut, and we sent it out to festivals.
So what was it like working with her?
With Judith O'Dea?
Yeah.
She was amazing. Like literally, she walked into the room in character, never even seen the room, but knew exactly where she wanted to stand, what she wanted to say, how she wanted to react. Like everything was just on target. The actors around her, I think, were really actually blown away because they did not know their parts that well. So, but like, yeah, everybody in the room was just like in awe.
Jeff Provine, author of Dawn on the Infinity, which is a book here at SoonerCon, fittingly enough, came to me at SoonerCon 2009. I was talking with Deborah Chester about topics that were probably going to be coming up. She was very excited about pirates, which I put my own spin on it, of interdimensional pirates. Using the multi-worlds theory, there's all kinds of possibilities out in the universe, so why wouldn't one come visit us? And it's the story of Dawn, who's a 14-year-old girl kidnapped and taken to another dimension where she is to replace herself and help them steal a power generator that will make their ship more powerful.
So how did you get into the mindset of a 13-year-old, 14-year-old?
I watch a lot of My Little Pony, probably more than a grown man should, but I've never claimed to be as such. And that really instilled a lot of it, which it's a fairly innocent book. There's a little bit of violence. She does attack a vampire with a carton of Italian dressing, since it does have garlic in it. And it does work very well. He gets a horrible rash and is upset through the rest of the book. Writing in general, I've been a big believer in having the kind of creative juices. So if you want to be creative, you need to take in creative things. Watch lots of movies, read lots of books, listen to music, listen to podcasts. read lots of comics, everything that you can take in, definitely do. And then from that, your brain will instill different ideas, and eventually you'll kind of stumble upon a what if, like what if this, and then from that seed, an entire world and story can grow.
Well, can you talk about some of your other books as well?
So some of my other books, I've a steampunk series called Celestial Voyages. It's a little bit of alternate history, takes place in 1901, but humanity has developed an interplanetary spaceship. So this shipping magnate from Liverpool, England, leads an international crew to the moon, which will be re-released this summer, and then ultimately Venus, Mars, and the rest of the planets.
Where can people go to check out your books and buy them?
Amazon is a great place. I check them out at local bookstores as well. I've always got copies on me, so if you run across me, definitely give me a holler. That's pretty good. In addition, I've also got the OU Ghost book, which I've led the OU Ghost tour here for about 4 years now, and it's taken off to the point where we've collected all the stories together into a compilation called Campus Ghosts of Norman, Oklahoma. So it tells a lot of spooky stories about Ellison Hall, as well as going to Campus Corner and some of the fraternities and sororities with their ghosts.
What are your, do you have any future projects planned?
Future projects, working on some more steampunk. I've got a steampunk story where they're opening portals into hell. So, and Aaron Burr makes a guest appearance, which I'm very excited about. He's crazy.
So what do you think? How do you feel about SoonerCon?
SoonerCon's been great. It's packed already, and we're not even past 1 o'clock on Saturday. I'm very curious to see how the rest of it turns out. Excellent costumes this year too.
Do you have a lot of panels this year?
I've got quite a few, about 6 or 7. Everything from alternate history to comic books to My Little Pony.